the National Small Industries Corporation as knowledge partner, and SME Venture as media partner. The convention aims to highlight policy inclusions and transformations that have taken place in the MSME division of the Indian industries. The event is being supported by MSME Chamber of Commerce and Industry of India, National Institute of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, and hashtag I am SME of India. This unique forum will bring members of the industry on one platform to discuss the upcoming trends, areas of growth and innovation, along with disruptive business models, which will also include deliberations on a future course of action to better navigate and adapt to the next new normal. Ladies and gentlemen, please note you can post your questions in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen under the Q&A panel. We will be taking up the questions towards the end of each session. Also, we would be delighted to welcome comments as well as suggestions and recommendations from all of you if you wish to take part. Also, you can visit the booths and interact with the brands in the exhibition area. Meanwhile, don't forget and keep tweeting about this conference using hashtag MSME 2021. Without further ado, let's begin with our first panel discussion of the day on the very important for a $5 trillion economy. The first session will focus on how MSMEs will become a major contributor to this vision. Interesting insights. We have with us the following speakers. Dr. Indrajit Ghosh, Global Chairman, MSMECCI, Chairman, ICMEI Club, London. Mr. Nand Kishore Chaudhary, Chairman and Managing Director, Jaipur Rugs. Mr. Rahul Narvekar, Founder CEO, the India Studio and India Fund. Mr. Jitesh Shah, Chief Revenue Officer, CropIn. And Mr. Batra, Senior Vice President, Global Growth Leader, Tech Mahindra. And to moderate this session, I would like to invite Ms. Vineeta Hariharan, Chief Externally Medium Enterprises. If we are ready, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'd like to welcome you all, and over to you, Ms. Vineeta.
Yeah, thank you, Sneha. This is Chief of Externally Aided Missions of MSME. So thank you very much for inviting us all over for this very pertinent discussions on the MSME sector, which, as you rightly said, is the backbone of India's economy today and tomorrow. So never before have we seen such a large focus on MSMEs by the government of India and by all the stakeholders, so to speak. Across board from the private to the public, and MSME as such is a huge umbrella, and it comprises a whole lot of sectors from fisheries to food processing to agriculture, you name it, and all the domains have MSMEs in them. Health sector, so all of them have MSMEs playing a huge role in that particular domain. So it's an overarching umbrella sector, so to speak. Even from a government of India's point of view, it's an umbrella ministry which covers a whole gamut of sectors across board. So therefore, MSMEs have a huge role to play in the contribution of the economy and taking it forward. But of course, there have been various challenges that MSMEs have been facing, right from the last mile MSMEs till the to the state, to the national level. There are a lot of hiccups in terms of governance hiccups, and also last mile access to technology, last mile access to infrastructure services, last mile access to finance, credit. So these are some of the challenges that MSMEs face that has been also highlighted by the RBI committee, which had done a detailed review of the MSMEs very recently. So, keeping that in view, the government of India has also undertaken a whole lot of reforms in the sector. Like you all must have heard about the redefinition of the MSMEs itself. That also stemmed from the expert findings of the RBI committee report. So with that revised definition, we'll have many more MSMEs coming under the fold of the definition of MSME per se by the government of India. And apart from that, we've also included the retail sector into the MSME fold. So that will bring in a whole lot of MSMEs, and the 63 million figure would undergo a radical transformation very soon. And the government of India is also fast tracking the onboarding of MSMEs onto the Udyog Aadhaar portal. So, which has seen a lot of traction the last 2 to 3 years. In spite of the pandemic, there have been many MSMEs, many new MSMEs also registering onto the Udyog Aadhaar portal, and which also brings in, which actually certifies these MSMEs and makes them eligible for various grants and subsidies that the government of India gives. So going forward, so right today we have very forward-looking private sector players, some representing the tech space, some representing the agri-tech space, and we have Nand, Kishore, Chaudhary from Jaipur Rugs. We have Jitesh, Shah from CropIn representing the agri-tech sector, and of course Batra, who is heading the tech. I mean, almost heading the tech Mahindra. Tech Mahindra, and looking after digital platforms for MSMEs across the spectrum. The very first discussion point, so to speak, would be about the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is what is today India's focus. And not only India, but I think across the globe, there has been a lot of movement towards improving the domestic production capabilities of various countries because of the pandemic, which has actually impacted global supply chains, and countries have realized that dependence on imports would actually be very vulnerable to such global supply chain shocks. So therefore, there is this inward-looking theories that countries have adopted, including India. And so, where do we stand in terms of being actually self-reliant with reference to MSMEs? And what do you think are the challenges that we face? And what do you think would be the way forward in terms of moving towards a wholly self-sustainable MSME sector? So, I would perhaps start with Samir. Would you want to just give your points on this?
So, as you rightly pointed out, Vineeta, the this specific sector has the largest employment after agriculture itself, and it's I would say a backbone of Indian economy itself. Now, if you look at the Atmanirbhar Bharat there are 5 foundations out there: economy, infrastructure, system, dynamic demography, and demand, right? From an economy perspective, I think you touched upon it, but this sector contributes 30% to the GDP. Now, if you have to move from 3 trillion to 5 trillion, we're talking about an additional 1,500 billion to be added from this sector into the Indian economy. So that's one thing. That's the first perspective which I want to set it across. Second is, with the pandemic which has happened in the last 2 years, the whole world has changed. There is I would say, acceleration as far as the digitization is concerned. Hence, the way we're going to go and operate in the marketplace, how we're going to sell our products, how we're going to link back with the supply chains, how we're going to deliver the financial inclusion. The whole infrastructure has to be revamped as far as this sector is concerned. You can't live what you were living 2 years back. So that's the second perspective which I would set it across. From a systems perspective, I just want to touch upon the skill sets, right? It's very important. If you look at the World Economic Forum, there is a specific report on the skills, and that would bring in 600 billion of addition to the Indian GDP itself. So hence the skills become very critical for us to be successful in this new environment which we all are, and most of us are working from home, right? I'm standing in my home and talking to you itself. The technology has enabled us. So how do you make sure that you improve your skill sets and have the right skill sets for future, retain your employees in this sector itself, and also look at the market opportunities which are going to augur for ourselves? So from and across the demand has started rising back again. The economy is on the V-shaped recovery itself. Now, we don't want to be at the laggard side of it. And Indian domestic market is huge. So how do we make sure our products are there at the right time? we deliver to our consumers or our customers from this sector itself and make sure that this is successful. In the gist, if you look at all the five dimensions of Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are the enable which will make sure that we can leapfrog to the next stage. So back to you, Vineeta.
Yeah, thank you, Samir. So we'll come back to you on how we could actually improve the digital platform and access to technology, as well as the skilling part of the whole story. So अभी हम नंद किशोर जी से रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि आप थोड़ा सा अपना व्यूज बताएंगे आत्मनिर्भर भारत की तरफ, जो आपके जो जयपुर रग्स है, जो आप इतने पैशनेटली आपने डेवलप किए हैं इतने सालों से, तो कैसे आप जैसे वीवर्स के साथ डायरेक्टली कनेक्ट करते हो, तो ये आप डायरेक्टली एक्चुअली आत्मनिर्भर भारत की जो कॉन्सेप्ट है उस पे आप कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हो, तो आप कुछ बताना चाहोगे आपके स्टोरी के बारे में, और ऑल्सो आपके व्यूज जो आत्मनिर्भर भारत के लिए एमएसएमईज कैसे अपने आप को स्ट्रॉन्ग बना सकते हैं।
मैंने 43 साल पहले इस कारपेट बिजनेस की थी। 5,000 रुपए पिताजी से लोन लेकर मैंने 2 लोन लगाकर इस कारपेट की धंधे की शुरुआत की। फिर मैंने 9 साल तक आई वर्क एज ए कॉन्ट्रैक्टर मैन्युफैक्चरर। उसके बाद मैंने अपने भाई के साथ एक्सपोर्ट की शुरुआत की और 99 में फिर मैंने जयपुर कंपनी बिल्कुल जीरो से बनाई। तो हम लोग हमारा जो बिजनेस मॉडल है वो सारी जो महिलाएं हैं, जो महिलाएं घर पे ही बैठ के करती है, उनके घरों में हम लोग सारा सप्लाई देते हैं, कारपेट भी वहीं से लाते हैं और उनकी ट्रेनिंग वगैरह वो भी उनके घरों पे ही होती है। एक महिला को अपने घर के बाहर आके काम करने की जरूरत नहीं होती। और आज जयपुर से करीब 40,000 व्यूवर्स गाँव 600 गाँव के अंदर जुड़े हुए हैं और हम लोग करीब 60 कंट्रीज में एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं। और एक जो लग्जरी मार्केट है ग्लोबल, जयपुर का एक बहुत अच्छा ब्रांड है। तो आत्मनिर्भर भारत में मैं यही बताना चाहूंगा कि ग्रास रूट पे लोगों का जो पोटेंशियल है, उस पोटेंशियल को पूरा उपयोग करना। जैसे हमारी जो कोर है वो है कि जो हमारी व्यूअर्स हैं उनकी जो क्रिएटिव है उनको ग्लोबल मार्केट से कैसे कैसे जोड़े।
जी किशोर जी, आपके यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल इश्यूज आ रहे थे, लेकिन वी गॉट द जिस्ट ऑफ जो आप कहना चाह रहे थे कि आप डायरेक्टली वीवर्स से कनेक्ट कर रहे हो और बहुत सारी महिलाओं को भी आप एम्प्लॉयमेंट दे रहे हो। तो एक्चुअली वी वुड जैसे कितने महिलाएं होंगे आपके उस जयपुर रक्स के, उसमें आप बता सकते हो, कोई आंकड़ा बता सकते हो आप कितने वीवर्स एम्प्लॉय कर रहे हैं, जितने महिलाएं हैं वहां पर?
हम क्या 40,000 से जुड़े हुए हैं और उसमें करीब 25,000 महिलाएं हैं जो अपने घर के काम करती हैं।
जी थैंक यू। तो एक्चुअली आप बहुत ही अच्छा केस स्टडी है एक्चुअली, हाउ पायलट एग्जांपल ऑफ हाउ यू आर एक्चुअली कंट्रीब्यूटिंग टू द आत्मनिर्भर स्टोरी। सो perhaps we need to showcase this case study। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया लेवल पे भी हमें इस बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस की तरह इसको शोकेस करने की आई थिंक इट्स इम्पोर्टेंट। डेमोन्स्ट्रेटिव इफेक्ट होगी इसकी पूरी कंट्री में, आई एम श्योर। So I'll move on to Jitesh now. Jitesh, would you like to talk about how technology and since you are in the agri-tech space and you are directly contributing to the story of Atmanirbhar Bharat by making our farmers so technologically savvy and improving their productivity, as you had mentioned, using state-of-the-art technologies. So Jitesh, over to you.
Thank you so much, Vineeta ma'am, for setting the context and to the esteemed panel for their views earlier. As you rightly said, what CropIn is able to do today is work with almost 7 million farmers worldwide.
I think we've lost you, Jitesh. So we've lost connectivity with Jitesh. Perhaps then we'll move on to Dr. Indrajit Ghosh. Welcome, sir, to this panel discussion. And so we were just talking about how the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the whole concept of the Atmanirbhar Bharat is being what is the contribution of the MSMEs towards this, and what are the challenges that the MSMEs are facing towards actually becoming self-sustainable currently as well as in the long run, and what do you think we need to do to plug the gaps, so to speak? So I think you're on mute.
First of all, I apologize, for joining 15 minutes late because yesterday was my daughter's wedding ceremony, so we came very late night. So extremely sorry. Good morning to everyone, and I must thank you, Chirag, and the entire team of Industry Live for giving this opportunity to speak in this wonderful platform regarding the Indian industries or India to achieve, economically 5 trillion economy. If you want to achieve, frankly speaking, to 5 trillion economy without MSME support, it is not possible. I can give a small example to you. Up to 2020 March, whatever government we have from 1947, whether it is Congress, BJP or Janata Dal, nobody has given any importance to the MSME industries at all. On 2020 March, when we got a very bad, consignment from China of, PPE kit, ventilator, sanitizer, everything, and it was returned by the Prime Minister to China. And at that point of time, our Prime Minister requested bigger, PSUs like, Indian Oil, Bharat Petroleum, company like Maruti. Why don't you produce, these products? When they can make, why don't we can make also the same products? And you will be happy to know that within 8 months' time, 118 companies are producing this material in India, and we are already supplied in 154 countries. We are the second largest, supplier in these products within 8 months' time. So MSME can do wonders. Because any product, when you want to start for innovation, for any testing or any expenses, MSME is the right place to start with. And according to me, to 2021 to 2030, it will be the golden period of Indian MSMEs to put up the plant in India and start with a lot of innovative products, because we all know we don't have any good relationship with China, and neither in the coming future. So we are also, whatever the products we are importing from China, we are reducing the material day by day. It is not possible in one day. It will take 5 to 7 years time, but over a period of time, it will be lesser supply. So all these products which we are importing from China, our MSMEs can start making their product. Already, a lot of people have already started, like solar plates. India was making solar plates previously. Suppose I am giving you such an idea. Suppose in 100 rupees, and China was delivered to India at 50 rupees. So, because of the very high production capacity and the automatic machines, they are always ahead of us in terms of quantity. If we will make, 1,000 pieces per day, they are making 10,000 pieces per day. So, to compete with China is not a, 1 month's job or 1 year job. It will take some time, because we, as Indian, companies are switching over to the automatic machine for the last 10-15 years, and it will take time to, replace all the old machines to the automatic machines. But coming back to achieving 5 trillion economy, MSME is contributing 29% as on today in the whole industry contribution. What Government of India wants, it should be 51%. And if you will see the progressive countries like, United States or China, they are MSME is contributing more than 45%, and they are also doing 51% exports, which we are not doing. What we are doing, we are making our products, quality products, selling inside the country, but not exporting because of the lack of knowledge of export documentation. So as a chamber, we are helping the all MSME industries. There are 6 crores MSME industries which are registered, and 4 crores also MSME industries are there which are not registered. So almost 10 crores MSMEs are in India as on today, and 1 crore MSME was closed down during the 2020 and 21 due to this pandemic. A lot of companies have closed down, but a lot of new opportunities also opened. Like LED lights, we are importing 75% of the LED lights from China, and now the Indian MSMEs have started, on the process of making LED lights very shortly. So these are the all products, and even in the global scenario, if you will see, 21 to 30 will be the golden period for foreign industries also to put the factory in India, because everybody don't want to do business in China because of political reasons and whatever happened in the last 1.5 years. So if anybody can replace China, that is only India, because in the 750 crores population in the whole world, 300 crores is having these two countries almost 42%. So anybody can replace China, it is only India. That's why China is also creating lots of border problem. Everybody knows to focus India in this line so that they cannot grow. And we are also, as a chamber, we are doing in both ways. Like we are also helping the industries to put the plant in India in different places, and also to Indian industries to go global. Like we are having a very big mega event in 17th to 20th of January at Vigyan Bhavan, New Delhi, where approximately 400 associations, more than 1,000 companies and ministers also will join, as well as the ambassadors, and 15 countries will be participating on the hot issues. The purpose of doing all this, to invite the foreign industries also, we are doing Make in India initiative. We have already connected with 14 companies from South Korea, Japan, Australia, US, Singapore, Malaysia, Belgium, and London, who will, once the flight will start after 31st January or so, then they will come and put up, do the registrations and want to start the factory in India. There are a lot of other companies that are also interested to come to India, not only for putting the plant, but to start with joint ventures, or whatever the manufacturing capacity we have, our companies are having in India. They want to take over and start the manufacturing and selling the material in different places. In India, we are having lots of opportunities and what you can say advantages to do the global business. I can give you one small example, like Samsung Mobile. They are in South Korea, but they have put it the largest plant in Greater Noida, which is making 60,000 mobiles per day, which will go 1 lakh mobile per day from 1st April 2022. To make in India and to sell all over the world is more profitable, but whatever the material they are producing in South Korea and selling all over the world is less profitable, because in India the land costs are less, labor costs are less, ports are there. There are plenty of ports we have in and around India, so that anybody can export from any port wherever they put a factory. Likewise, if you will see the car manufacturers, again the same thing. If they're manufacturing the car in Germany or in Japan or in other countries and selling all over the world, is less profitable. But if they make the same car in India, that will be more profitable for them. That's why all the major car manufacturers, they have already started manufacturing in India, in different places. That is the main advantage. And also the population is also who will get 132 crores people. There are only two countries who are sharing 150 and 132 crores. So that is a huge market. So a lot of and the people around the world, particularly the democratic countries, they want to deal with the democratic countries. India is a democracy, so whether anybody in pan India or in outside put the plant in India, which will be again automatically Atmanirbhar Bharat, once they will manufacture starting in India, and they will have a say to the government, to the authority. They can discuss with the authorities. They can express their views for the development of the industries, which they cannot do in China. So a lot of industries are shifting, and in the coming 5 years' time, I'm telling you, it will be the, we are relentlessly working with the government also, because there are certain changes required in the government. Because in our country, to get a license, it will take 6 months time, 6 to 8 months time. Where we are working with the government, it should be in 21 days. Because neither the foreign companies, neither the Indian companies have time to chase up, for 6 to 8 months to get a license to manufacture in India. So government has also has to change, in certain things which they are doing. This government is supporting the MSME industries in a very big way, but there are certain categories, people understood wrongly when government of India was announced 3.77 lakh crores, loan without the collateral. So everybody thought, without any collateral, they will get, crores of rupees and, immediately, which was a little bit, wrong communication. And after that, it will take 2-3 months time, and then from September, October 2020, it was materialized, and people understood what they will get according to their, what you can say, their credibility in the bank. And the people have started getting the loans also from MSME to flourish further. And exports is one of the biggest thing we have to do, because China and America is doing 51% of exports, and we are doing, only 12% exports. So our export has to be increased. Till the time the export will increase, foreign money will not come. We will not able to achieve, 5 trillion economy. So to achieve 5 trillion economy, we have to do exports, and we are helping the all MSME industries which are making, good quality of product and more than 50 crores or 100 crores turnover to go for exports. And we are giving the, awareness program also to help them, how to do the export, the documentation and everything. And hopefully, we have already started a lot of exports, but hopefully in the coming 3 years' time, there will be a lot of other products also to be exported from India. And as a chamber, we are working in many folds, like, in helping the MSME industry to grow, helping the MSME industries to go, helping the MSME industry to go global. Like in the conference, we are having a one-day conference for the MSMEs to go global in UAE or in Africa. Like, in Africa, they are not manufacturing anything. They are all importing from outside. And since we are having, very good relationship for the last 75 years with the African countries, so Africans also want, Indian companies should come and put the plant here, and they will also get the employment as well as the product much cheaper price what they are buying. So we are making a Africa, 10 ambassadors we have requested from Africa and UAE, Middle East, to come with the industry minister and give a short video presentation, and to offer the Indian industries, if the Indian industries MSMEs will go abroad in their country, what facilities and support they will provide us. So this is the first time in the MSME industry. MSME industry has never put up any plant in outside India, and just to it's a good encouraging message. Already 100 people have registered with us, to go abroad in UAE and in different parts of Africa already. And there are a lot of other people are also coming up. So, if some industry will go abroad and put the plant, they can take, the major people from India, finance head or, marketing head, top level, and they will appoint, the lower level staff from their country. And once they will start with, 10 to 20 people, the plant, over a period of time, they can flourish very fast. Because, in any place like Mauritius, if you will put the factory there, you will get, you can supply all over the African countries as well as the Middle East. And the Mauritius is having an advantage is, if you will make the material in India, it will be certain product, it will be 25% tax, 20% tax, or 30% tax. In Mauritius, they have only 5% tax, because they have a treaty with the US, with Europe and Africa. If they will produce the material in Mauritius, the taxes will be only 5%, and certain places nil, 0%. So these are
Right.
the all.
So Yeah, great. So actually, you've given a very good overview of the entire sector and what the chamber is doing, and I think it is a very optimistic and very encouraging scenario that you have projected for the MSMEs. Definitely, I'm sure we are on that trajectory, sir. But just to be a little self-critical, perhaps like you said, in terms of competing with China, there is still this gap that we need to fill up, and we need to really step up our production capabilities and also our technological prowess of the MSMEs. And I think one important factor could be the labor reforms, which you mentioned. Of course, this government has been very, very pro labor reforms, and there have been a lot of reforms done recently with all the 29 acts, converged into just 4 codes. So, but I think what I think India, the thing is because of the cooperative federal structure and the democratic structure, of course, it's one of the best in the world. But at the same time, that throws up a whole lot of challenges because every state have their own land laws, their own laws of the land, and their own labor laws. And so I think, like for example, a state like Kerala, it is so difficult to set up a business over here because of the kind of archaic and rigid labor laws that the state has. So I think so that is some challenge that we
That's why as a chamber also what we are doing now, we are requesting all the 28 states and 8.
So I think we are having some connectivity issues. We've lost Dr. Ghosh. So just to continue with from where he left, I think this he was talking about
MSMEs as
competing
well
with
as
China.
states.
So I think we
Business of
lost you.
MSMEs.
We lost you in between. Your voice was not audible.
What I'm saying.
So I think, sir, we're having some technical issues at your end. So maybe
Factory
we'll
in
go.
Madhya Pradesh or in UP or in Punjab or in Haryana or other states, what facility they will offer and what problems the industry is facing to put the plant in their states. What are the hurdles they have? So it's an exchange of views because one to one, once you will start understanding each other's problem, then it will be easier for both of us
Here to
to uh,
definitely.
move forward. So
We need
that is the
to
part
make
also we
a
are doing.
seamless platform across states in our country. So that I think that's a
And
big challenge.
Government of India, PMO office and MSME ministry are very happy. What are the programs we are doing for
Sure.
helping the MSME to build up the MSME in India. So they are very happy, and that's why all ministers will join us. 10 to 15 ministers will join us in the conference, both the
Yeah,
conferences.
definitely, sir. Thank you so much for giving us this very comprehensive overview. I don't know, Jitesh, are you here with us?
I am, ma'am. I don't know
Yeah.
where you all lost me, but towards the
There
end,
is
it just showed
something
that I've
wrong.
gone
So
offline.
anyway, so we were talking about competing with other countries, and so in terms of technological, last mile, which is what your firm also has this prowess in. So would you like to take us through what CropIn is doing in terms of giving access to state-of-the-art technologies for the farmers and the MSME sector?
Sure. Thank you so much for that. Look, broadly speaking, very proud to say that CropIn, we've started in India 11 years ago, and we are not only creating impact in India across 3.5 million farmers, but we are also creating an impact across 7 million farmers worldwide as well. Now, that gives us a very unique position that not only are we developing and evolving for India, but we are also developing and evolving for the world from India. And that puts us in a very important position in the global strategic map, because we are India, of course, with all the recent announcements that we have seen. India is continuing to be looked at as the power center when it comes to technology, and being able to take that into one of the sectors which has desperately needed this for several generations, if I will. But they're finally getting it. As a result of that, what is happening is the entire farming ecosystem, right? Be it the farmers themselves, either the smallholders or mildly progressive or progressive farmers, and or the small and medium enterprises that are part of the agriculture ecosystem. For all of them to get access and availability of technology at a price point that is part of their business model makes puts them in a very strong position to be able to deliver what the country and the world needs. And by that, what I mean is, if you look at it from an India standpoint today, urban centers are reducing. Urban centers are increasing. Rural agriculture landholds are reducing, but the population is increasing. So if we do not take any drastic steps today to improve our efficiency, and I don't mean to sound dramatic, but if we don't do that today, then probably a few years down the line, what we take for granted as 3 square meals a day in our towns and cities will not be possible. Not because we don't have money, but because we haven't done anything effectively with the technology that we had. So it's very critical, not only to have the technology, but to develop that technology in an economical manner, so the society and the ecosystem is able to use. Now, as a result of that, what we have seen is farmers today, we are able to bring the farmers into not only the ecosystem, but at the center of the ecosystem. The reason that is important is, if you looked at it a few years earlier, the farmer was the one who was running around to chemical companies asking for buying pesticides and fertilizers. He had to run around to a bank about 100 200 kilometers away asking for a loan, and the bank would typically say, hang on a minute, I do not even have your credit worthiness score, right? I mean, most of us on the call today are lucky to have a credit worthiness score. If you think about it, farmer does not have that. So for him to have access to finance, and as a lack of it, him not being able to innovate on his farm, and because of lack of that, him not getting good produce and yield, and that just becomes a vicious cycle. So now, through the availability of technology, what we are able to do is create those marketplaces, if you will, where farmer is the center, and with the farmer being on the platform, everyone is able to approach him. So farmer all of a sudden is not just being looked at as an individual, but all of a sudden is an enterprise in himself. Because if you think about it, he's buying raw material, he's making a produce, and he's selling it, and he's part of that entire commerce, right? So through the access and availability of technology at the grassroots level, a lot of availability both from a market as well as demand is coming, and as a result of that, not only is the farmer able to negotiate lower prices for his inputs, because everyone is competing with that only 146 million farmers that exist today, but he's also able to command better produce. So his costs are reducing, B, his livelihood is increasing because his produce is increasing, as well as he's getting a better price, and all of a sudden he becomes an extremely powerful force. And you have 146 million farmers today, smallholder farmers in the country today. Imagine even a 30 or a 40% livelihood increase across the board. Our Prime Minister's vision of the whole Lakpati Kisan program, I think we will overcome that very easily, right? Then all of a sudden a farmer's annual income will shoot up to almost 2-3 lakh rupees, assuming he does everything that technology is able to offer.
Absolutely. So it's really encouraging to see your model working on the ground, and thanks to this platform, we are able to understand such kind of best practices going on in the country, and I think needs to be really scaled up and plugged in with what Government of India is also doing. So I think you said you're targeting 20 million farmers by 2022, right? Is that right?
By 2025, we are targeting 20 million farmers. And that goal does not seem ambitious or audacious anymore at all, because, for example, we are working very closely on the whole Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana program. As part of that, we are able to do yield estimations, which is then enabling the whole insurance disbursement to the farmers at a much quicker pace, because now all of a sudden government has access to data points through which the government can decide who are those farmers who are really eligible for insurance, and those eligible farmers are getting what they deserve and what they need at a much quicker pace than what used to happen earlier. And as a result of that, because now we are working at a central level, we are also working at several state levels, we are also working with a lot of enterprises, both medium and large. Our ability to get to scale is very, very high. One example that I would like to quote, ma'am, with your permission, is we are working on a program called Jivika in the state of Bihar. It's a World Bank funded program where we are creating impact across 40,000 women-led farming households. And this is a World Bank audited report which has said that due to just a simple access to advisory from our platform, their livelihood went up by 32%. So imagine, just by getting correct information from a weather standpoint, from right usage of chemicals, fertilizers, getting right, knowing which seed to use, just on the basis of that, if you are able to get a 30%, 32% livelihood improvement, imagine what all can be done if I'm also able to predict in advance, diseases, which we are already doing. So by the fact that I'm able to predict 15 days in advance, a disease is likely to occur on a plot, all of a sudden the farmer knows what to do about it, as opposed to the disease hitting and then him mitigating his losses. Just this disease impact today on our economy is roughly 30 to 35% of crop losses on our fields occur because of pest and disease attack.
Absolutely. So it's a great example of how robust public-private partnership, are leveraging on Government of India programs as well, because there are a plethora of programs, but it needs to be taken to the last mile, which is what I think CropIn is doing. So that's as far as the farmers are concerned. But what about the MSME space in the agriculture sector? Like it's mostly non-farm, right? The MSME space, if I'm not mistaken, or of course, it has a lot to do with agri-processing as well. So if you could just throw some light on how MSME and the farming sector, what are the collaborations and convergence?
Both MSMEs as well as large enterprises do have a need for a platform like ours, especially on the MSME side. Today, for example, if I set an MSME, if I set a small enterprise several kilometers away from villages, getting access to the farmers is then a question mark. Number one. Number two, being able to monitor what all is going on those farmers, because if I am an enterprise, I need to have complete visibility from a supply chain standpoint. So as part of my enterprise, for example, if think of me as a mini ITC, right? If I am trying to make 1,000 kilos of atta, for which I need, say, X kilos of grains coming in from our farmers, today, because I'm not an ITC, I don't get easy access to them. And second, I don't have visibility on how much should I get from where. Now, all of a sudden, by adoption of technology, even by the small and medium enterprises, they all get access to a visibility of the farmers, be understanding when is the produce going to come into the market, and see how much estimated yield will come. All of a sudden, that becomes a huge contributor to them being able to manage as well as meet their revenue and bottom line demands.
So I think it's a great example of how you are actually enabling access to technology at the last mile for the farmers, which is actually the source of supply for so many of the non-farm and also farming MSMEs. So I think that has to be replicated in the MSME space. So I think an organization like CropIn in every block in our country, I think, will make a huge difference, a radical difference in the entire space. So we have Rahul again back with us. So we'd like to go to you, Rahul, now. Just like to listen to you, listen from you about how your the Angel Fund that you've set up is actually helping improve access to finance for the MSME sector, which is a very critical. Access to credit and access to finance is a big. Even now, it is a big challenge that MSMEs face, in spite of all the COVID packages that the government of India has announced. But we still have to go through banks, and so there are a lot of KYC norms, etc. I'm playing devil's advocate here, not to just talk greatly about our government, which of course they're doing a great job, definitely. But it's important for us to take cognizance of the challenges and how you are able to plug into those gaps.
So, Vineeta, I see three key challenges that I hear from people when I travel across, especially in small town India. One is, of course, access to capital. And a lot of them are actually very bewildered with the fact that in the startup ecosystem, on a concept level, people are raising millions of dollars of funding, which they think is very bizarre, where they have a solid business, but they don't have access to fast capital and cheap capital. Second is, I think, this whole supply chain of raw material, which is very broken for a lot of MSMEs. Everything still leads back to China in that sense. And the third key thing that I've been observing of late is talent. So especially engineering is no longer seen as a sexy career option. Engineering colleges are shutting down or declining in terms of intake. And who are actually graduates will go and work for a startup in every area except engineering. So I think these are the three key things I hear. And if you, like I was hearing Jitesh speak of CropIn, when you talk to people like CropIn, the numbers that they're talking about, the sheer speed, the energy, that is sort of missing in the MSME owner, entrepreneur, CXO level. So I have a company out of Tokyo, Japan, and we've been trying to get access to cheap Japanese capital to a lot of MSMEs, and we did a lot of handholding in the last few years. The challenge with countries like Japan is when you talk of large projects, so we are the consultants on the bullet train project. My partner Sanjeev Sinha is based out of Japan. So when you talk of large scale projects, Japanese capital is very interested. When you talk about MSMEs and SMEs, that access is not there. But of late, a lot of new financial instruments are coming. So we are putting together a marketplace called IIR, where we are getting institutional finance from developed world to look at talking to MSMEs. The biggest obstacle for a lot of the MSMEs is they don't speak the narrative or the language of what is needed to be able to pitch and raise capital. And I see a huge opportunity where partnerships between MSMEs and certain institutions, government-led or private-led, where we sort of handhold these guys in terms of how can they access the abundance of capital which is available for the startup ecosystem.
Right, absolutely, Rahul. So I think that's a huge gap at the last mile, wherein MSMEs lack the know-how and the capacity to prepare business plans and financial plans to go and access these loans from the banks. So that's something where now the World Bank is working closely with the government of India to develop the space at the last mile to make MSMEs more competitive, and also working on providing last mile consultants to the MSMEs to help them prepare their plans and pitch decks, etc. I think
Yes.
that's a huge gap. So I think even if banks can have, although they have these bots and all of that, but they really need physical hand-holding the MSMEs. So if there are these consultants who can actually travel across districts and across MSMEs and help them prepare their plans and hold these regular training workshops at the grassroots level, I think that will make a lot of difference in the MSME space. It's about how to build their capacities. Like if you see the Singapore, the SME, the government of Singapore's, the web portal, it's actually really plug and play, wherein actually you can do everything through the website. So I think that's something that we are aspiring to go to. Even the government of India, we are working towards that. So thank you, Rahul. So I think now we'll just go to Samir again about we were talking offline about the GEM portal and how successful it has been in G2G platforms. So how can we actually move towards scaling up GEM and increasing the outreach to private players and also G2B and G2C?
So let me just sum it up what I heard from Dr. Ghosh, Rahul, and Jitesh and yourself, right? Three areas. One is the awareness. If you look at from this specific sector, Dr. Ghosh mentioned that they are going to invest in Africa. Easier said than done, right? There are a lot of things which we need to know about the demographics of Africa before we go and invest. That's one. Exports. How do we improve our exports? We are at 12%. How do we take it to 50%? That's where the growth is going to come in, right? The policies, whether it is a credit score, whether it is the cost of the capital, those are the things which are there. That's the one pointer which I'll put it across from an awareness perspective. Second, I'll put it across competitiveness. How do you bring in competitiveness? Easier said and done that the factories from China would move to India, but you need to create that environment to get it done, right? So how do you ensure that the laws of the land, ease of doing business, getting the land reforms done, and getting the whole infrastructure shifted out here? Then once you have that, then how do you get the skilling part of the skilling done, the talent part of it? How do you retain the people whom you need across? Because you will have these all advanced factories with Industry 4.0 dot, but there should be skilled manpower to really operate them. The third thing which I would go to the marketplace, which you talked about, right? GEM, how do you go to G2C and G2B, right? But then how do you replicate the success story which is there in the e-commerce companies, right? And we have talked about how government has to support, how bank has to support. Trust me, if the sector itself don't wake up and start doing themselves, start creating these platforms for themselves, nobody is going to help them. I think the best way is that we are more focused on how do we go and invest, how do we make sure that we ensure that we create an environment or a technological platform which helps our MSME completely the industries out to come here and really become enabled out here. That's the most important thing which I think we have to start looking at it. And if you look at from a technological advancements and innovation, it has impacted the value chain end to end, right from connecting with the suppliers to the distribution to the global buyer, from financing to the payments, from designing to branding, marketing. At every stage, automation and digitization has changed the way we used to deliver it traditionally. Now, it has also led to the increase in productivity, right? By scale in operation, reduction in time, efforts, and cost. Now, going back to your question, how do we replicate this success? Let's take an example across for Amazon, right? Amazon is a huge marketplace. There are small entities who are coming and selling it across on that platform to each one of us, right? And that's how they're enabling the business. Can we replicate the Amazon model out here? Now, Amazon has gone one step ahead. They are also giving the financial assistant to any buyer. Like if I have to go and buy something and if I don't have the money upfront, I can pay that in the installments. Same thing we can replicate it for the MSME sector itself. That we can create a platform wherein we bring in our products, we go and sell it across, we get the banks to join that platform, we get the entire ecosystem to join, so that enables them to be more effective in the marketplace itself. So that's the one thing which comes to my mind. The second thing which is very important from our perspective in this specific sector is how do we make sure the awareness is taken care. So can we, in that portal itself, can we put in all the credit policies which are there? How do you get a credit score? What are the export policies which are there? Let's put everything on that platform itself. So if I have to go and export or set up a factory in Africa, I should be aware of the policies before I do that. So I'm ready for that. So I think that platform becomes a I would say it will make sure that everybody would get their products to be sold. It will also give them an awareness and information with respect to how they need to run their business. And lastly, it will also help them leverage the best practices across the various industries within the MSME sector itself. If I'm like the agriculture storyline, which Jitesh talked about it, can I replicate that across in, say, for example, in the handloom itself? Can I replicate it across in the rugs, Mr. Nand Kishore ji said, right? Can I go and replicate this across, create a marketplace for those women weavers and make sure that they become more self-sufficient itself? So that's how we have to start looking at it. And nobody is going to come and do for us. We have to adopt. I think the most important is to get people onboarded on this platform and then move forward.
Sure. Thank you so much, and thank you for summing it up all. So I think just quickly, access to credit, the point is that we have enough funds available from the government as well as the private sector coming in with angel investments, etc. The point is about how to make the MSMEs credit worthy and how to handhold them to access these funds. And about talent, and it's about skilling of MSMEs. I think that's a space where one needs to really work on, the government as well as the private sector, hand in hand, to skill the MSMEs towards state-of-the-art technologies, and also in terms of access to technology, we have a lot of best practices as in CropIn and even the Government of India's GEM portal. But how do we scale it up, and how do we ensure that all MSMEs across board have this access to technology, and how do we take the MSMEs to the next level to make them export oriented? I think that's where now all the stakeholders have to work together to see to it that the MSMEs improve their export potential and increase their contribution to exports. So I don't know if we have time for quick questions. Sneha? Okay.
Yes, we do.
Maybe one or two questions from the panel. There, I think there's one question on how MSMEs we can take them to their next level. Somebody is asking about how to, if it's as a small player, how do they transform themselves to the next level? So, who would like to take this question amongst the panelists? Perhaps Rahul, if you're there, would you like to attempt to answer this question? How to make them transform the MSMEs from a small player to a medium, or medium to a large?
I think, Vineeta, it's a question of couple of things. One is, what is the opportunity that they're servicing? Because today, if you look at it, when I talk to most of and as we are speaking, I have 3 people coming down from Ludhiana just to sit with me today to understand. And the thing was, Rahul ji, ये हमको समझाओ, हम अपने आप को startup कैसा present करें, you know? So their challenge is They know they have the skill set, they know they have the experience. They are just very baffled with how do they raise enough capital to sort of make the leap to the next level. Also, while we have enough technologies available, most of it is in silos. So when I go and visit, say, an institute in Jalandhar, their team has developed something which I could immediately say, oh, this can be commercialized so much, but they have to move fast. By the time their bureaucracy is over with doing it, that opportunity is gone.
Sure.
So I think at some level, a sort of a hand holding, and I keep coming back to that because most of these guys, when I tell them, oh, yo, there is this scheme available, or you can talk to and go, they are not able to make that leap of going online, or their CA or their CFO is not able to sort of understand how to present it or pitch it or whatever. So somewhere that hand holding, and that's not there mostly in small town India, tier twos. Most of them have to come to a Delhi or a Bombay to talk to people like us. I think that's the key challenge that
Yeah,
I see.
so I think even government of India needs to work on a platform where we can actually benchmark, when a small becomes a medium and medium becomes, large. And
Absolutely.
how do we do a training to enable this kind of transformation? And I think other questions relate to the availability of experts. So that's again about the hand holding, which we touched upon during the discussion. And I think there's also a question about raw material prices. How do they get access to the raw material price information, which I think Jiten's best practice, if we actually replicate them in the MSME space, I think that would be a good way to.
So, Vineeta, just one point here I wanted to make is when we talk of handholding, so there are more than enough experts available who would love to mentor. Our challenge is unless there is a sort of a filter. So, if I connect with somebody and that person is not able to sort of exactly communicate to me what is this challenge, and then it's a lot of waste of time and all of that. So, if there is something which says, okay, this is your challenge, I think this is the right expert. That middle layer has to create.
Right, right. So there is a question by somebody urgently asking about how he could raise funds for an e-commerce startup in the ideation phase. So I think that again, Rahul, I think you'll have to answer this.
Okay, I keep getting questions like that. So e-commerce again is right now a red ocean. That sector is very well covered by most of the large players. But if you have an idea which is like a niche, like what Nykaa did, it came out of nowhere and it saw that Amazon and all these guys can't do inventory model in beauty space. So if you have that kind of an idea, but what I would suggest is please first do your homework, and then there are more than enough people where you can just apply online. Sequoia has a search program. There is Y Combinator, which is now taking a lot of applications from India. And I strongly urge you to apply to startup school at Y Combinator first. That will sort of help you validate the idea that you have in your head. And once any of these guys pick it up, then of course the whole world is waiting for you.
Okay, so Sneha, I think there's one question for Jitesh. Somebody is asking about a farmer who owns a 30-acre land and he's doing traditional farming. He wants to connect to new age technology to. So how does he do that? How does he go about it? So Jitesh, you would be having coordinates in every state or something?
So, being a tech company ourselves, we do believe in accessing everything to technology. So, whoever is interested can perhaps reach out to the panel, and if the panel wants to connect to me, the organizers, and if they can connect to me, I can certainly help that individual. But otherwise, there are multiple ways in which people can get in touch with both CropIn as well as other tech companies in other industries. Something as simple as going to our website and writing to us.
Right, sure. So I think that brings us to the end of the discussion, Sneha. So we've had really engaged discussions and quite enlightening, taking us through some policy canvas and I think some recommendations which can go to the government as well as to other stakeholders.
Most definitely, definitely highly enlightening, I must mention. Also, very productive to hear such diverse and informative views from all of our speakers about unleashing the MSME vision for a $5 trillion economy, and now we see it happening soon. Well, I would like to thank you all so much, all the panelists. Thank you so much for taking the time out and enlightening us and joining us today. Thank you once again. That will bring us to the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.